This, my friends, is the DENAFRIPS Ares 12-1 R2R digital to analog converter, and it's called a 12 to celebrate the brand's 12 years of making some of the most potent in-house mid to high-end audio gear. The Ares, as it were, is actually the cheapest DAC in the lineup, but also one of the most respected of its kind. And some even go as far as calling the Ares 12-1, get this, the endgame R2R DAC. Well, that's some mighty words right there, but after spending a good 3 weeks with this thing, I can safely say, if you're looking for something that takes the edginess out of your music collection, smoothing it out until what you get from your speakers and headphones is warm, open, and organic sound that's like nothing you've ever heard before, the Ares 12-1 just might be your ticket. But endgame DAC, yeah, let's find out if that's true or not after these messages. It's probably a good idea at this point to summarize what kind of DAC we're dealing with here first, and I'm far from being an expert at these things, but I'll try to simplify it as best as I can. So, if you have a car with a stereo system or have used headphones with your smartphone, for example, then you've probably been using a DAC, otherwise known as a digital to analog converter of some kind. Now, DACs found in most electronics rely on cost-effective, mass-produced Delta Sigma chipsets to handle the digital to analog conversion, otherwise known as oversampling process, which is a convenient, cheap way to achieve high-resolution sound. On the flip side though, oversampling requires complex algorithms, which as a result causes problems like latency and distortion. Now, in the past decade or so, R2R DACs have gained popularity because of their simple ladder-like architecture made out of resistors and then paired with souped-up transformers and capacitors for linear power regulation, among other things. Remove the top cover of the Ares and you're greeted with a perfect example of this. The innards are bespoke, designed and made in-house with multiple boards specializing in specific tasks rather than relying on all-in-one chipset solutions. As you can see, R2Rs rock it old school style by using repetitive ladder-like arrangements of precision resistor networks to convert digital input signals to analog signals, and are capable of resolving very high resolution content with little or no perceivable distortion, as opposed to, oversampling and the digital filters applied by DS DACs. The Ares has a solid selection of inputs such as USB-B, and then we have SpeedDiff, and right here in the middle is the rather rare I2S PCM connection. And I can't speak for the HDMI looking I2S because I don't have another device with that kind of output. But I can say that these are very high quality connectors back here. And I mean, just look at the coaxes, really nice fasteners for the price. Now, in the likelihood you wear out the digital ports for some reason, it also looks like DENAFRIPS makes it possible to replace or upgrade them for some degree of future proofing. The outs, by the way, consisting of RCA and balance connectors are very nice quality as well. And something to bear in mind though, the manufacturer does stress not to have all the ports connected concurrently, otherwise you run into possible sound issues. Overall though, the port selection on the Ares keeps it simple, although some might say that it might be also too Spartan. I mean, there's no like 3.5mm IOs, no Bluetooth, no remote, not even USB-C for crying out loud. And if any of that are what you prefer in a DAC, you might have to look somewhere else. Let me cut to the chase by saying that R2R DACs like the Ares are not made to eke out every detail out of each note or have studio-grade reproduction. But then you might ask, what am I spending $800 then if it doesn't improve the sound quality significantly? Well, unlike most algorithmic DACs and hyper-detailed setups, R2Rs excel in retaining the original signal's integrity with practically no distortion. Like with the Ares, DENAFRIPS also adds a very noticeable change in imaging, like there's something more holographic about the sound, plus also adds a level of warmth to the low end that I liken to what I feel when they put those warm face towels on me at the spa. Yeah, it's relaxing, it's calming, not a care in the world. there's just a lack of pretentiousness to the sound production that I find refreshing and unique. So yes, objectively, the DENAFRIPS sound isn't pin-droppingly more detailed because that's not what its goal is. Instead, it takes the edge of sharp notes and then brings out the natural timbre, essentially allowing the music more room to expand and grow and to envelop the listener with a level of sophistication many price brackets up. I used the word holographic in passing a second ago, and I want to stress how the Ares has this almost uncanny ability to make simple things like my LCD-X or even my cheapo speakers, the Edifier R1700 BT2S that I mainly tested this on. And guys, that's what's amazing about the Ares is that even on those speakers, my music sounded like it was coming from the room rather than from the source. And I can only imagine what things would sound like with more superior speakers. Another way I can describe how relaxing and easy listening sessions with the Ares is, many of you know my love-hate relationship with the Odyssey LCD-X. It's one of the GOATs, but heavy as bricks, and I can never wear this thing for more than an hour at a time before my head wishes I had not missed neck days. But yet, I'll tell you what, guys, the Ares is so transparently engaging in its own way that I often forget I have the headphones on. Yeah, it's really that good. Throwing out Billie Eilish's Bad Guy is a great test for speed, separation, and clarity for practically any system's lower mid-range. And the way the Ares dissects the cresting track that goes from 135 BPMs, then deconstructs itself to 60 at the end, and turning it into a beautifully harmonious user experience is truly special indeed. Same thing with Suit and Tie. Justin Timberlake never sounded smoother, I'll tell you what. But that being said, the Ares does have its own take on oversampling. When you press the OS/NOS button with two filters you can select from, while I prefer listening to the default non-oversampling mode, some tracks do benefit from oversampling. Like one example is Pockets of Light by, and I'm probably butchering his name here, Lubomir Melnik. And the warmth that you find in the NOS mode is still there for the most part, but the attack and decay of each of those percussive strikes from the piano was more decisive and livelier in oversampling mode. Of course, my reviews wouldn't be reviews without the negatives, one of my favorite segments. But anyways, the front LEDs are so tiny, I think they're meant for ants. They're near impossible to see in bright daylight, like if you have the DAC sitting right by a window. And I get that once again, DENAFRIPS is probably keeping it simple and old school, but some kind of variable brightness control of the LEDs would have been nice, or is that too high-tech, DENAFRIPS? When connected via USB, there's a good second-and-a-half delay between, say, pressing play at the source and then media being outputted at the other end. And I know that's like first world problems, right? But I thought I'll mention it anyway, especially since some of my viewers are Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, and I know that's like practically half of your attention span. The DENAFRIPS Ares 12-1 is definitely a chunk of change for those beginning to dabble in audiophile grade audio accessories, and I can guarantee you it's a downhill slope from here. But even then, for $750, you will tangibly get more for your money from DS decks like Topping's DS90 or shit Bifrost 2. Yes, I said shit, and I hope I don't get demonetized. But anyways, models like that offer excellent detail, tighter dynamics, and mod cons that the DENAFRIPS lacks, like volume knobs or headphone outs, USB-C, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity, companion app control sometimes, or even MQA rendering if that's your thing. By contrast, R2R DACs like the Ares, or at the top of my head, the Gustart R26, due to their inherent complexity and precision, are more expensive to make, which puts them at a disadvantage price-wise. However, R2Rs are excellent at producing analog, very natural open audio thanks to a bunch of old school resistors and copper coils. And I know I'm oversimplifying things, but that's the gist. So if you can get behind that concept, or if that's where your listening taste or preference is leaning to nowadays, then the Ares 12-1 should definitely be high on your list, especially if you're on a budget. Okay, so a big shout out to Alvin. Yes, Alvin, I'm talking about you at Vinshine Audio in Singapore for sending me this unit. And I bring up his name because apparently he's the point of contact person for brands like DENAFRIPS globally. So if like you're interested in getting one, I'll link his store down below. Check him out. He's super fast at emails and communicative, really nice customer support. And he's very, very knowledgeable as well. He has a channel himself too, so I'll link it down below. You can check him out. I'll plug him here. Yeah, he's subtle on the outside, but he knows his shit from other brands. And if you're new to this channel, by the way, if you're like an audiophile who just happened to happen on this video and you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's true, I mentioned it before, I'm just skimming at the audiophile level because my pay grade that can match the hobby. But this is to help other viewers, like, you know, you're just a general listener and want to graduate to audiophile stuff. This video I hope helps, and other videos like this as well. So if you like what I do, guys, if you enjoy this stuff and you want to show your support, the only way you can do it, don't just watch and disappear. Subscribe and like this video and share this with your friends. And I really appreciate you guys for watching. Again, remember to do something loving and kind for somebody in this world, because guess what? If you haven't seen the news, the world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. I love you all very much. Peace out and God bless.